better. Two dudes watch whatever they want. 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 Yeah.
Ooh.
Welcome back to Two Dudes Watch Cartoons, the podcast where two dudes, that's us, watch cartoons. My name is Evan.
And my name is Alex, and today we are actually not watching a cartoon. Sorry to disappoint anyone who was
Another bonus
tuning in.
episode.
We are doing a bonus episode. If you couldn't tell from the intro, it's two dudes watch whatever they want. Today we got, a great one, a popular one. I'm excited. I'm sure there's a ton of people that are. We're covering Stranger Things, I guess season 4 of Stranger Things, but we'll probably talk about all of it as a whole. But specifically season 4, Netflix is just making great season 4s of shows right now. I mean, I don't know what it was for the month of May.
What other season 4?
They had an all-time great season 4 of The Circle in the same exact month as Stranger Things. Evan, how dare you forget already?
My bad. Yeah. Were those the same month? Did
same
season
month.
4 part 1?
I'm okay being upstaged. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
So The Circle only made its way to number 2 on Netflix. We never broke number 1. And I genuinely think we could have, but Stranger Things premiered like the same week as our finale.
Yeah, that's a tough go.
Yeah.
But...
how are you going to beat that? I'm okay getting second to them.
Mm-hmm. You watched through it pretty much as soon as it dropped, I feel like. And
I'm one of those people.
I've been scrambling to get caught up in the past 2
We're
days.
the exact opposite. Like we're coming at this from two different perspectives. Me and Nikki watched it like the moment we could, whereas Evan has been catching up the past 12 hours, whatever it's been.
Yeah, I had to push back this record 15 minutes because I didn't know the last episode was 2 hours.
Yeah, the last one is longer than some movies, but I love it. But hey, you know what? You were accommodating to me. I actually pushed the podcast back a whole day. What would you have done if we recorded yesterday?
That's true. I don't know what I would have done. Speaking of which, did you go to urgent care? Are you okay?
Yes, and kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess if
We
you're
don't have
watching
to
on
get into
YouTube, you can see here. I have a boot.
Oh, what the fuck? What'd you do?
My foot is sprained. And the worst part of the whole thing is I have zero idea how it got sprained. I am a very low physical activity person. I can usually point out the number of times I was like, oh yeah, maybe it was this, or this, but I have no idea. I woke up Monday morning with severe foot pain. I'm not able to put my whole weight on it. So yeah, this is not like a ER podcast, so we don't need to get into that, but that is what's going on with me. I'm hopping around on one foot.
I guess this will be the first spoiler of the episode. I think I missed the part where Dustin injures his foot because, like, at one point he just starts limping in the upside down. I was like, what happened?
So, yeah, we're already in the last episode. I love it. Typical two dudes fashion. Let's start at the end. So, in that dramatic scene, remember, Eddie took away the mattress from the upside down portal, and so when Dustin fell through, you heard like a little. Like a bone crack type deal.
All right. I wasn't paying close enough attention. Okay. Thank you for filling in that gap for me. I hope
I've
you're doing
watched
okay.
Ready for this one, Evan? So I watched most of the episodes twice already.
Jesus
we watched them when they
Christ.
came out, and then to prepare for the second installment, we watched them again.
What was the spacing? Was it split in half? Was it like 4 and 5?
Absolutely
or what
not.
was it?
They released 7 episodes in May, and they released the last 2 on July 1st. What a weird structure, but ready for this? The age of Netflix. Where else would you ever, I was appalled when I heard that. And they were like, oh, but the last 2 episodes equal like half the total runtime of the season. And you're like, wait, what? You were like, those have to be so, I don't know that's exactly what it is, but the last 2 episodes are like literally an hour and 40 minutes and then 2 hours and 33 minutes.
Yeah.
Like they are long episodes.
I don't understand why.
I think because they can. I think it's genuinely because they can.
Now, I've seen some constructive criticism for Netflix. They tend to just drop a whole season at once, whereas other streaming platforms will do weekly releases, namely like HBO, Succession, and some other ones
Disney
that
Plus.
get a lot more, that garner a lot more conversation. Disney Plus with the Obi-Wan and their Marvel shows. If they're going to split it up randomly, I feel like they should have just done a couple small batches of
Mm.
episodes or weekly releases to really keep. I don't. I mean, I have
Here's my
obviously
argument.
I've seen lots of stuff about Stranger Things, but I felt like it could have permeated
Mhm.
the entire pop culture conversation if they just did weekly releases.
Here's what I will say. I think even with how they did it, they already permeated every inch of pop culture. They are all over Twitter. They are all over TikTok. They are trends. Look at the fucking song with Kate Bush. You cannot
Yeah.
tell me they did not permeate into
Okay.
every
Yeah.
into pop culture. So here's my argument for it: is one, their structure worked because I think people were talking about it plenty of weeks after the 25th is. So the first
Okay,
7
I'll give that
episodes
to
came
you.
out May 25th, and people are still talking about it. So I think that there's that, and then two, this is part of Netflix's identity. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
they at all costs really don't like to do the weekly model because it is something that really separates them. If you like binging, get ready. Netflix is going to give you that opportunity at midnight PST. You can go as ham as you want. The gates are open. You know what I mean? Because in my mind, there's even an argument to be like, why not release it at like 5 p.m. EST? You know what I mean? Why not like do it where a time like everyone could be like HBO used to
Like
do that.
prime
They would
time television. Yeah.
Yes, why not do that? And I think it's just so caked into their identity of like, no, that's like binging is Netflix thing, because so you have a show like The Circle that would probably really thrive on week by week episodes, but they're like, no, you got to compromise. We will do
I
mini
don't-
binges.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely baked into their identity.
It separates them. Think about it, because it's a complaint about Disney Plus is everyone goes, the only reason they do these 6-week freaking shows is because it runs 2 months for people who are like the scalpers, or not the scalpers, like the hoppers, if you will. Like they jump.
Yeah.
Ooh, hopper. Well, we're talking Stranger Things, so. Oh,
Good
no.
one.
So we're talking just strictly like Netflix right now. I love this. But remember, you and I were there for the first ever Netflix original, House of Cards. We were in college and we were like,
long time ago. What is that?
Long-
2012, 11 maybe?
yeah, it's got to be sometime.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were like mind blown by this.
Yeah.
And so while I think that has its place in history, I also think Stranger Things has made Netflix part of what it is. And so that's
For
why I
sure.
do genuinely think it's important you stick to the Netflix like
Branding.
brand. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's part of their
Um,
identity. Stranger Things is a big reason people have Netflix.
I think it's maybe part of the reason it took so long for me to get around to it, because like by the morning after it came out, I was seeing Running Up That Hill trending on TikTok. I'd seen clips of that scene. I was like, okay, I guess that's the season. I'll get to it when I get to it. And so
Sure.
it's taken me a month or two to
And
actually get through it.
maybe that is a complaint. I don't think any release schedule is going to be perfect at this point. I think the things are so muddied and watered. Like, would you have really preferred 9 weeks of waiting to watch all of this? I don't know. I would have.
Yeah, maybe not 9 weeks, but okay. So batch 2 comes out morning of or morning after it comes out. I had already seen pictures of one of the main characters in the hospital or this or that, and I was like, Jesus Christ, give me like
Twitter's savage.
some time.
Twitter
Yeah.
is literally savage. Twitter has no law of the
Yeah.
land. Whereas like Reddit, these subreddits will have rules, like post
there's
things.
order.
Reddit will like, Reddit is crazy that you can say it has more order, because I think the people are like pretty savage, but
More degenerate. Yeah.
yeah, they're more degenerates. But like Twitter, no rules.
Yeah,
And so
Wild
that is one
West.
thing, you got to mute the hashtag if you're like an avid Twitter user, which
Yeah.
is not like fun, but it's part of the incentive to watch quickly in my mind.
Okay. I feel slightly better about it. I don't know. It still kind of irked me, but that's Netflix. It's working. Is it
I
working
also
for
think if
them?
you're not an avid Twitter person, most people wouldn't have that issue. Like my
That's true.
cousin Katie, she watches Stranger Things, but like she can do it on whatever schedule she wants. She's not going to get spoiled unless like one of her friends
That's true.
accidentally says something.
I am very much online. So
Mhm.
yeah, I got to protect myself online, I suppose. So we are talking Stranger Things season 4 today. I enjoy the show, but it has been so long since season 3.
Yes.
What was that? 2-3 years since it came
Gosh,
out?
I mean, it was before the pandemic. Let's look it up.
Are you serious? It was before the pandemic.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it came out. Season 3 came out before the pandemic, but let's double check. So, season 1 aired in 2016. So, this is like a really new show. Like 2016, is that when Trump became president?
That's
like
when
what?
Trump
Like
took office. Wow.
so that's crazy. Like Stranger Things is as old as Trump's presidency. And
Yeah.
yeah, so season 3 had 8 episodes come out in July of 2019. Like the world did not know what COVID was the last time we saw Stranger Things.
Do you remember they had a whole big live event where there was like a stage production they were doing, like
What?
there's aerial acrobatics. Yeah, they had like a stage presentation
Can't
of
say I do.
Stranger
where was
Things.
this? Did you go?
was-
Why do you know?
No,
this?
it was on like YouTube, or they like streamed it live.
Okay. No,
It was
I don't.
Literally Stranger Things on like they had like high wires and shit, and there's a
Was the
lookalike
cast there,
of-
or is
no,
this
it
just
was-
an event?
It was just actors who were in their costumes, like miming it to the soundtrack or whatever. It was one of the cringiest
sounds like a
things,
cruise
promotional things
show.
I've ever seen.
Like this
It
sounds
was
like something you
super
see
cringy.
a show on a cruise line.
Yes, it's exactly what it was. It was like a Netflix geeked event or something. I forget exactly what branding it was, but it was super bizarre. Honestly, I remember that more than I do remember season 3. But where do we leave off at the end of season 3?
Season 3, it looks like Hopper has died, which then they
Mhm.
instantly ruin like a month later with a promo of Hopper in Russia. Like I'm not kidding. It's
Yeah.
the thing of him. It was like a few months after the season ended, and I was like, wow, they ain't even gonna try to play us. Like they're just letting us know he's not dead, which is an interesting take to me because I think this is something Game of Thrones suffered from is the fans would often like theorize, and I think the fan theories ended up changing the ending of Game of Thrones, where they
Yeah.
were like, damn, everyone guessed that Hopper's still alive. All right, just put it in the promo, get him hype. Like, I think that's actually some sound logic, if it makes any sense. Like,
Yeah.
let's just lean into it, I guess.
Yeah, Elle has
yeah.
lost her powers. Right?
That was terrible. Because,
Yeah.
that's like what she. I was almost so mean. I almost said that's all she's good for. Not true, but.
Yeah.
She knows that she spends the whole season going to get her powers back. So yeah. And then, like you said, so with Hopper dead, Elle now is going to go live with the Byers. And because the Byers have the shittiest of shit luck, they're like, we are leaving Hawkins. This place has brought us nothing but death and pain and destruction. So this is what's really bad is me and Nikki did, you're going to hate us, before season 4 even came out, we rewatched all of Stranger Things. We really like Stranger Things. So,
Okay.
like April and May, we watched all 3 seasons before. And so Joyce, let's just listen to this, dude. So season 1, Joyce loses her son and everyone thinks she's going crazy. Season 2, she's settling down. She's falling in love. Shit goes to hell in a handbag again. And her new boyfriend, who's like the greatest guy in the world, is like, come on, Joyce, let's get out of here. He ends up dying because of like the chaos that you and your crew end
I
up.
totally forgot about
Oh.
Sean Astin.
Sean Astin plays one of the best characters in the show, and he is Bob Newby, superhero, and he dies tragically in season 2. Joyce, just more pain and suffering. Season 3 rolls around. Hopper is like, hey, Joyce, like, I know you're going through this, but like, let me help you. And she's like, no, I can't love ever again. I can't do it, Hopper. I can't. And just as she's starting to let him in, he fucking dies. Like, it's unreal the shit Joyce Byers has had to gone through.
How did you feel about Hopper's arc this season?
So ups and downs. So what I really like is it was very non-linear. They had like the whole escape plan and they were going to meet him, but then, they end up getting kidnapped and their plan the guard that's been helping him the whole time gets thrown in jail. And I was like, whoa, I didn't see it. Like every step of the way they were met with like a shit ton of trouble. And there was several times I was like, one of these 3 is not making it out of this situation, like between Joyce Murray and Hopper. I'll be honest, the whole season, I was like, I think they're about to kill someone. Like, I didn't consider anyone safe. And I really like how suspenseful so much of it was. Like, they've really come to show us that death happens in this universe, but they've also kept a lot of characters over these 4 seasons that like we are in love with. And so if any of them are to die or experience, tragedy, we really feel that as an audience. And that was what I was well, season 4, I'm like, are they about to Game of Thrones us? Like, are a bunch of people about to die here? Because they have a huge cast. That's one other thing. It's huge now.
It's a
The
double-edged
cast is
sword, I
huge.
think.
Okay. What do you think about it as a fan?
This large of a cast, watching especially the younger actors grow together over time, it's clear some have become much better actors than
Name
others.
names. Name names.
Mike, not a great actor, does nothing.
He
Will,
had so much potential.
they
He was
don't
great as a
give
kid.
Will enough to do in this, but like Dustin, really great performance. Max, really great performances this season.
Yeah.
Elle, I mean, not that it's a bad performance, but she also is kind of a one-note character through all 4 seasons of like
Mm.
cry, glare, squint, raise your hand, and then power of friendship at the end beats the villain or whatever.
Classic anime, dude. That's
Yeah.
why I was like, you know what? This weirdly fits. This feels like an animated journey, like an anime.
Hopper looks good this season, though. He's
Yeah,
lost some
oh.
weight. He's
He-
trimming
I
down
wanna-
in jail.
He looked great. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, Hopper.
I was, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about his story. One, because I don't love when a show or a story comes up with seemingly random reasons for characters to be apart. Granted, it's not random that he's in prison, but the fact that his whole season, he makes the same trip 3 to 4 times. It's leaving jail, getting brought back, escaping again, and then going back. That's his whole season. That is his whole season. Going
will
to
be
and
honest,
from jail.
So for me, think
Russian
about it,
jail.
is they left off, the last we see is them fighting the Demogorgon as a group, and Joyce and Murray up on the thing. And
Yeah.
so that's like the last we see of them till July. And so they escape, and then they were like, we gotta go back. And I was like, whoa, wait, what? That is not at all.
I would be
thought
so
you guys were gonna
annoyed if-
go home to the kids and help. Like the whole
Yeah.
season. I will say, so the whole season for me, they left off on episode 7. I thought the California crew, the Russia crew, and the Hawkins crew, I thought they were all going to come together at the end and help and fight. And it really looked like that was where it was heading. And then when we got to the last 2 episodes, they were literally all like, we have to stay where we are. Like they all like made a very conscious decision to be like, we can't make it back into Hawkins in time. And so Elle was like, all right, I'll have to do my thing from here. And Hopper was like, we have to help him any way we can. We got to go destroy that blob. Like, I was like, whoa, you guys aren't. And you know what? Maybe that's because every season that is how that's like a very basic structure of the season is all these different groups have bits and pieces of information. And the whole season is just like, if only you fucking all talk to each other. And then that happens towards the end. And so you know what? Now that we're actually talking it out loud, it kind of frustrated me, but I'm glad it didn't end up actually following the same formulas. They had to rely on their own prior knowledge and skills and take it on in separate locations.
Yeah. Since you have rewatched all the seasons prior to this, can you refresh me on the big bads of each season? Season 1 is Demogorgon, which I don't remember what it looks like, but I know the demo dogs in the prison were like its lackeys, right? But what was, I don't particularly remember the Demogorgon itself.
So the Demogorgon itself, so in season 1, what took Will was the Demogorgon. It was, it's the thing that Hopper was fighting in season 4. There's a bunch of TikToks now that it was actually probably Vecna. And, there's even a grandfather clock in the beginning, but that's not what in season 1 you're thinking. You're thinking the Demogorgon took him and that he's in the Upside Down and this is what they got to fight. And they do fight it in season 1. And so it didn't even really feel like a big bad at that time. It was just a monster. Then season 2 builds upon the lore, where this is our first introduction into the Mind Flare and the hive mind, because Will has some sort of attachment to it. He can feel it. He knows what's going on. It's making him kind of crazy, kind of sick. And this is the first introduction of Demodogs. Just a smaller version of a Demigorgon,
Okay. Okay.
and probably a younger version. In all honesty, is they're just younger and not as fully formed. It's just a way for the show to have more of them and make them seem less strong. And it is terrifying in season 2 when they're just running all around the lab, and that's when Bob Newby, oh R.I.P. Bob Newby, that's when he
R.I.P..
dies. The third season, the big bad is really the focus on the mind flare. It has like manifested a physical form in our world, and
That's
it
the
takes
cloud,
over
right?
Billy.
Yep.
And Will can still feel it, and it still has its connection to the Upside Down. And then in season 4, this is what I really like, is they actually really very well built upon each other without actually making it like super like shoving it down our throats until, I mean, they kind of shoved it down our throats at the end of this season. They like really explained it, but I thought it
Mhm.
was really well done, because now we find out that Vecna is the one that like gave the Mind Flare a mission, like a purpose, or like a form. Like it
Yeah.
was just like a floating cloud, and he was like, I'm gonna turn this bitch into a spider.
I just wonder whether they had this all somewhat formulated at the beginning, or if they're just adding layers on top of it.
Didn't like the Vecna reveal. Is that what you're about to say? Because I will
s-
fight you.
I'm iffy on it because sometimes I don't love when it's very late in the game and they go, "It was me all along." Like they did that in like one of the last Daniel Craig James Bond movies, where
Yeah.
they just show pictures of the previous villains and it was like we're all connected, and I think it was literally with a red thread. And so maybe I would have to go back and watch it. I was like, I don't know if all those pieces are necessarily there.
Here's what I will argue.
Okay.
In the very first supernatural thing we see, it looks more like a Vecna than a Demigorgon. It is a flash, but we also hear a grandfather clock. So there is like this thing on the internet where it was like they took Netflix binders of story where they could go where they wanted it to go. So, obviously I don't know that to be fact. I just see that on the internet. But so I've
Mhm.
heard that, but I will say I think it's impressive either way, whether it was all planned or the way they built upon it. Because I think like a show like Community, one of the things we really like is, the lore they end up building around Greendale and the inside
Mhm.
jokes and the callbacks. And there's no way all of that's planned. It's
Sure.
the attention to detail and making sure your story doesn't have like plot holes, loopholes, and it's consistent. And so either
Yeah.
way, I think it's impressive.
Either way, they execute it very, very well. So
I
kudos
was
to the
jaw
Duffer
on
Brothers.
floor during the Vecna Henry
Monologue?
Creel number 1 reveal when we found out they were all the same. That to me was like, huh?
Okay, I think that's maybe this is what I had a problem with is we only see Victor Creel's flashback in the episode before that. So we don't even see Victor Creel. I don't think, right? Unless he's
No,
in her flashbacks in the first batch of the season as the guard.
there's a couple. Yeah, in the first half,
Okay.
we get into the Victor Creel stuff because Nancy and Robin interview him. So we get a flashback from his perspective of it all, which
Mhm.
is really nice because the little boy's just a side character in it. You think he died from the Vecna. So it was really well done in my opinion because it was hidden well. And so right at the last minute, I go, oh my God, this orderly is Vecna. Or I go, so number 1 is Vecna. And then when the third layer of finding out, oh, he's actually I thought it was really good. It's like
Yeah.
a classic. Oh, no, we're not done just yet.
I like the orderly reveal.
Mhm.
I'm not sold on the Victor Creel. We don't
Okay,
get enough time with that.
that's fair.
with him as a kid.
because the orderly was
Yes.
the whole time, because I didn't know he was a big actor. Like I didn't realize his name was being listed at all. I just was like, what's this dude's deal? I was like, what has he got going on here? And so that was what I really appreciated is to me, I thought he was just like a minor character and I was just getting a weird like ick from him. And then it did turn out that he had like such a bigger plot in it all. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, that guy's a good actor. He had me fooled.
That was executed well. I wish they had dropped more hints of Victor Creel as a kid. What if they had interviewed, I forget whether it's who's the one in prison with the eyes
Victor's
gouged
the
out?
dad and
Okay.
and Henry's the son.
Okay. I wish they would have bumped that up into the first batch of episodes. So
It was in the first batch.
okay, fine. And I mean the first half of like screen time.
It's in episode 4, Evan. It's when
It's-
Max
It's
Yeah,
in
it's in episode.
6.
It's in
It's
episode
right.
4 because Max has her headphones, and the
Mhm.
only reason they know that music is gonna save her is because Robin and Nancy figured it out while interviewing Victor Creel. And episode 4 is named Dear Billy, so that's the episode where Max running up that hill.
Fine. I'll give that.
You don't
to
want to fight me on this, dude.
I
No,
do.
I know they set it up early, but they don't address it again for a while, and
Yeah.
that's what I like. They let it sit, and then they introduce you to the orderly, and it seems totally separate, and you would never think they're related in any way. And I promise you, also, if you rewatch season 4, the storytelling of it is so good because it's like, hey, look over here, this is what's going on, but it's like, hey, look what you actually missed. It is really good.
But okay, but with Henry Creel, there's no way we would have missed it because they don't address his childhood, his troubled childhood, which is the core of his villain monologue at the end. It's like,
Okay, well, you can't give the whole thing away. That's like telling us who's getting voted out before they reveal the votes. In
but then
Survivor.
why should I care about it in his villain monologue? You know what I mean? Like,
Just because it all makes sense. It makes sense why all that dude's family died, and then it also
Yes.
makes sense where Dr. Brenna / Papa is starting the whole psychic children program from. He was number 1. It's just an origin story. Like I guess you're not supposed to care about it, but it's just an interesting way, like, to find out. Oh my God, all of these events are actually related.
I just think it would have hit harder in his villain monologue if we had gotten a little bit more of it earlier in the season. Not
Hit
all
me
of
hard.
it.
Okay.
Maybe some
Fine.
hints here or there.
I thought he was doing great as an orderly. Like, was that not enough for you?
I loved that part. I loved those little like you get the feeling that something's off. I wanted that with the 50s flashback of him as a kid. Like
Mhm.
some hints here or there because they drop that on you at the end and it's like, okay, yeah, I guess you could have said anything about him. It could have been the sister at that
You're being
point.
too nitpicky. It was great. Okay. We've talked to death a little bit about the origin story of this.
Yeah.
Let's move on. So
Well, why don't we should probably start with like what the inciting incident of season 4, which is
yeah, Jesus.
30 minutes in.
Yeah. All right. Hawkins is cursed.
Yeah.
That's the starting point. No, just kidding. So Hawkins has had a lot of bad shit. There was the mall fire, which, as we know, was the huge big battle they went through. And the Russians' secret base under the mall. And so what I really like about from season 3 to season 4 is it does feel like season 3 got like big, bright, and like a little slapstick. Like, oh, the commies are in the basement. Like,
Yeah.
season 4 really brought it back to like a realistic horror, like small town feel type show that we get in season 1.
Yeah. You get some new characters. You get Eddie Munson, head of the Hellfire Club, which is
They're in high school. Let's talk about
They
the kids are in high school, and
yes.
of course they're in a D&D club, Hellfire Club. I thought the name was great, but I think the name also was like very damning for them later. So,
Yeah.
as someone who loves D&D, I loved in the first episode the opening scene of well, first off, just meeting Eddie. We should let's go. We can talk about it in order. Eddie is a D&D freak. He like doesn't care what anyone else thinks. You see it right out of the gate. And the other new person we're introduced to is like head cheerleader. Her name's Chrissy. Chrissy's seeing some weird shit. What did you think? Like right out of the gate, what did you think about these visions where people were like telling them horrible, terrible shit, and it would turn all dark and disfigured and like?
Yeah, it was good. I liked it. It was.
I thought this was like the scariest.
Back
season.
to its horror roots. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. It's a really enthralling world. Great production, set design.
Mhm.
One of the things that I saw on Twitter that someone really praised the show, and I totally agree with, is this is obviously a very expensive show to make,
Mhm.
but it never looks cheap like
Never.
Marvel, like Disney Plus shows.
Like
do.
there's an explosion in the desert, and I
Mhm.
was like, "This is beautiful." It's not a CGI explosion. They blew that
Mhm.
shit up.
I'm gonna be nitpicky just because this is such a great show, and
And that's Evan's job to be
that's my
nitpicky.
job, is to pick things apart where I can. But on the whole, it's a great watch, and I cannot fault it
While
that
we're on
much.
the topic,
But I will try.
I I think this was the best season. Do you think that? I think this was the best season I've seen.
To me, this one stands out the most since season 1. Like
Yeah.
2 and 3, I don't really remember much. I
For
know
me, it goes
3 they were in the mall, but that's about it.
4, 1, 3, 2. That's
Yeah.
my ranking.
This was a great scene, for sure.
Yeah. So I love when a show can keep delivering. And like I said, it really brought it back to the feel of it all. And it gave us a lot of like backstory. So we meet Chrissy. She's getting these horrible visions of her mom being like, I don't even remember. Was her mom like causing her to be kind of anorexic or bulimic? Like, I
Maybe.
think that's what it was. Her mom's like, "Oh, did you have another cookie or something?" It was bad. It was real
Uh-huh.
80s shit.
Mhm.
But then obviously it turns into like this horrible disfigured like door moment. So I thought it was really scary. And then Chrissy, because she's having these visions, is like, need to go buy some drugs. I need to get these crazy fucking thoughts out of my head. I'd like to think if like I was having visions, well, maybe not, because you'd be like, oh my God, am I going crazy? Like I was gonna say, like, don't you think you'd tell someone?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well,
Well,
she
you-
did talk to the counselor, right?
Yeah, but do you tell the counselor like I'm seeing things? Yeah, I guess that's true. She did talk to the counselor. So
maybe.
you're right. Maybe the counselor was just like, yeah, that can happen when you're stressed. That was just terrible. But so she goes to meet Eddie in the woods, and I loved this scene for some reason because I found myself in the middle of it so enthralled, and I go, these are two characters I have like barely just met. And I am loving this scene. I am loving their chemistry. And I was like, that's the sign of a good show to me, where I'm two characters that are new to this season and I am totally enthralled in this scene. And so it's almost like right out of the gate where I was like, I really like these two. And they have two very different fates.
Have you seen the Duffer Brothers were like, we kind of regret killing Chrissy off because like they had so much
I did see
chemistry in
that.
that episode
So
1
well,
and then she
they
died.
shot Chrissy's murder scene like first. And
Uh-huh.
so by the time they do Eddie and Chrissy, they were like, oh, damn, these two got a lot of chemistry.
Which kudos to the actors.
Yeah.
Also, Eddie Munson apparently is a British actor who nails the American accent.
I'm ready to stake this claim. British actors are better.
Yeah,
Men, women, they are better. All of them.
I agree.
I think it's because they're classically trained, and Hollywood really takes looks into factors where British actors in acting does not.
Yeah,
I-
they can act more handsome than they are. I don't know.
It was good. That was good. No, you're right. Yeah, but no, you are right though. Now that you say that, I think you're onto something. So,
Mhm.
because like he's a good-looking dude. His name's Joe Morrison or something, right? And so, he's a good-looking dude, but he's not like stud material. But I
No.
really liked him. He was my. So every season they are really good at adding new characters into Stranger Things that you're gonna like love. And so I
Mhm.
was like, I wonder what the new character I'm gonna love is this season. And Eddie was the one that stole my heart.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I guess he's one of 3 in the season. There's
Yeah,
him,
Argyle.
Chrissy, and Argyle. True.
Argyle's.
I was gonna
a
say the
regular
only- The 4th character introduced is the Chrissy's boyfriend. Who
There's
I don't- I
also
forget his name.
Enzo.
Enzo. Who did you recognize him?
No, what do you mean? Who is he?
Think about it. Think
No,
about
no,
his
no, no,
face.
no. You can't do this to me because I've watched it like so many times. I would know by now. Who is it?
A man with many faces.
No. Okay, I don't know his name, but he's Arya's teacher from Game of Thrones. You're right, it is him. It looks
It's
just
gotta
like
be.
him.
I'm gonna fact check myself.
I'm absolutely obsessed with one of the things we will do on this podcast is spout things and then fact check after. We're so bad about it. Do you know how many times we actually do that? Where we will say something and then we instantly have to be like, well, I need to Google that. Hold on. That's terrible. But at least we do the Googling. I will admit
Yeah.
there are people who will say it and then pretend it's fact and then never go back on it, where we're instantly like, we have that moment of courage and then we're like, well, I do need to Google it though to get the source.
Game of Thrones. Jack Quinn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. The man of many faces.
It's like there's something so charming and mysterious about this guy. Where do I know him from?
He was a great addition, though. I really liked him.
Uh-huh.
And then there's also Yuri, who I didn't like.
I did not like Yuri.
Yuri was so goddamn annoying. When he wasn't fixing the helicopter at the end, I was like, dude, what are you doing?
That whole scene where it's like, where can we trust him? Blah blah blah, and they fall and not fall for it, but they get duped again. It's like shame on me, or fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, whatever. But the other one was Papa when Who's the nicer?
I trusted Papa.
The nicer doctor is like,
fell for it.
Don't you dare. And he's like, I'm just here for science. And he does it again. He's like, guys, we're 4 seasons in on. He's a bad guy.
Dude, I'm so mad. I hate Papa. Okay, I hated Papa going into the season, but I love Paul Reiser's character. I have those two are on the emotional opposite ends of the spectrum to me. And I'm obsessed that they brought them both back because they are really the heads of like everything that Elle's been a part of. And I fell for it. I thought Papa just wanted to help her. And Paul Reiser was like, we said this wouldn't be a prison. And it looked like he gave in. Did you like that impression? That was pretty good, wasn't it? That like one line you could tell
they're like a Midwest version of Magneto and Professor X.
That's good. So Papa looked like he was going to give in, and then he fucking betrayed them, and he put that goddamn collar on Elle, and I screamed. I said, like you said, I was like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. That's my fucking bad. Like, what the fuck?
We fell for it again. I really enjoyed Sam Owens this season, or Dr. Owens.
He's great because he really did. He was just always in the right. And he was the Captain America of the team. Like he was going to fight whatever he needed to stand up for what was right. The whole goddamn government, he was ready to turn his back on. Like it was good.
Also randomly, because I know I'm going to forget later, but shout out to the random, was it a cop or whoever posts up at the Buyer house and takes out like
oh my God,
15 army
we
men
need to talk
on his
about
own.
this scene. This
the
scene was
mustachioed
beautiful.
cop.
So the cops are sitting there nonchalantly. They're trying to sneak out. So our attention is on Argyle driving the Surfer Boy pizza van, which hilarious. We got to talk about that. He's driving the Surfer Boy pizza van to the thing, and you're like, okay, they're gonna escape out the window and get in his truck while they're doing the pizza thing. And so you think it's gonna be an intense scene that's coming out. They're sneaking out, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. And as soon as he opens the door, pop, 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 he dies, and you're like, oh. What? And then it turns into a one-shot tracking scene of this dude, like you said, taking out like 4 or 5 fucking people before he ever gets shot. And he's like guarding these kids. What an amazing scene. It may have been one of the best scenes in the season.
Salute to nameless mustached cop. You're great.
And I think they even tortured him, and he like didn't give info. Well, he might have.
One of them gave info. The one that's captured. The other one
info.
Dies in the van.
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah, they take him in the van and they have to bury him. This season got dark, which it was so funny. They had like Argyle doing like the darkest shit because like Argyle was literally the goofiest of goofs. What's your take on Argyle as a whole? We can just talk about him right now.
He was entertaining. It was good
Nikki's
comedic relief.
New one. Don't let her hear you say that.
Yeah, him or Eddie.
I picked Eddie still.
They're about even for me.
Eddie had way more story and plot. So in the beginning, Eddie was great because he's DMing and they're like, do we take on the beast or do we run? And Eddie's like, there's no shame in running. He goes, but they're like, we're going to fight. And he's like, yeah, I knew you'd make the right choice. But then he spends the whole season running. And it's just so like, oh my God, they literally set this up in episode 1. It's really good because in episode 1, that's not at all what you're thinking is like coming. So it's not like a spoiler by any means. It's not till like towards the end where you connect it and you're like, oh wait, that's pretty good. I forgot that Eddie said like, there's no shame in running.
So, I mean, to bring it all back to Hawkins, the inciting incident is that after Chrissy is seen with Eddie Munson purchasing drugs, she gets murdered and is Vecna's first victim.
And what another great scene between Chrissy and Eddie where she's dying. He's like, Chrissy, wake up. I don't like this.
I didn't know that's what that was from. Holy shit.
Yeah. It's Eddie screaming at Chrissy. Chrissy, wake up. I don't like this. And she's like fucking like
that shit was gruesome, dude.
This is what I'm saying is this season was so much darker than the rest of them. They were like, hey, I know these were cute kids when you started. They ain't fucking kids no more.
Yeah, brutal. Eyes gouged out, limbs fucking twisting every which way.
And
15
it's
feet
really
in the
bad
air.
because you really start to feel it for Chrissy and you really like her and you're like, oh no, not death already.
I feel like she would have made a great addition to the cast if only she could have survived. And yeah, so Eddie Munson is the prime suspect in this
Rightfully so.
small town
So
murder.
like it's a bummer, but let's talk about that. It is very safe to assume that Eddie would be the murderer because
Yeah.
it's in his house and he fucking ran. Like,
He's a drug dealer.
I'm sorry. Eddie's in the other room grabbing Special K. Like, this was the other thing. I was like, whoa, season is not for children anymore, which I guess it never really was. But the fact that there's children in it, I think make people be like, oh yeah, I could let my kids watch this. But you know, this whole scene was a drug deal where someone gets brutally murdered, like viciously.
Vecna, so fucking cool. Kind of looks
Yeah.
like the Swamp Thing-ish.
Oh yeah. Like he's been weathered by the upside down. Like it's really good in my opinion. It's great.
I watch it with closed captions on.
Mhm.
Anytime he's like moving or the vines are thing, it's like slithers wetly. Like that was one of their favorite wet mushy noises or something like that.
Listen to this. I have a tweet that I haven't tweeted yet. I'm about to read it, so I won't tweet it. I will read it live on air. Because I watch with the captions too, so you should recognize this here. Stranger Things subtitles. Dramatic synth music, dire synth music, optimistic synth music, spooky synth music, and enigmatic synth music, determined synth music, eerie synth music, distorted synth music, resolute synth music. I didn't know there was so many different types of synth music. Did you?
Yeah. I guess that is our whole soundtrack.
descriptive.
Yeah.
It was unreal. I do love the music, but man, I was like, wow, these subtitles are working overtime right now.
Yeah. So
Let's talk main cast now. We've talked about the new characters. You mentioned you thought Mike was a bit weaker acting wise as he's grown up, which is a shame because I think in season 1 he's one of the better actors actually. But I do agree with you now. He may has fallen off a bit. But what do you think? So like Mike and the California crew, that whole story. We were talking about Argyle as well. But take me through your thoughts on those characters, their story.
I didn't care for it, to be honest. Like the whole
I heard this
bullying
complaint,
thing.
too.
It's whatever. Like I get they're kind of doing the 80s coming of age thing storyline there.
Yeah.
I don't know. The roller rink where they're circling around
my
her
God,
yelling
where she
freak. It's corny, but I guess maybe that's what bullying in the 80s was like. Who knows? I wasn't around.
Evan, I had a similar thought. I go, does this really happen? I go, did something like this ever really happen? So maybe we just weren't alive. Maybe we were a little too young.
Yeah. Apparently bullying happened only in synchronized skating scenarios.
How did they get this all together? They got the DJ in on it. They got like, like you gotta tell me there's probably a couple kids there that are like, I don't even know this girl. Like,
Yeah.
do they all go to school together? I don't know. But so that was brutal also when Elle just decks Angela with the fucking skate.
Brutal. Yeah. And it's bleed. One thing this show definitely is pretty gory.
Yeah.
But it's tastefully done, I think.
I agree.
I'm not a gore or a horror fan, but this is fairly watchable. And as far as spooky stuff goes, like I hate scary movies, don't watch them, but this is like just entering into like scary territory. There's not really like jump scares or anything like that. It's more mood and like
I'd say horror than, or maybe
horror
thriller.
monster. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I get what you're saying. There's like scary stuff, but it's not, like not jump scares, or it's not like Saw where like, I was going to say where people are getting sawed in half, but that did fucking happen actually.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's tastefully done. It's in like an 80s horror film vibe. It's good. It is something I do feel like you could watch with most aged kids. You know what I mean? You're not going to show like a 5-year-old this, but you know, you could sit down like a 10-year-old maybe.
Yeah. The fourth new character we should talk about is Chrissy's boyfriend. I forget his name.
Jason.
Jason.
Burned into the back of my head because I hate that motherfucker.
High school douchebag to a T.
Captain of the basketball team, which Lucas, we can talk about Lucas. Lucas is on the side of the basketball players to start. I really liked this whole, because like what a classic coming of age. Like Dustin's like, we don't have to be nerds anymore, guys. And the rest of them are kind of just like, we don't fucking care anymore. We don't care. Dustin, we don't care.
Jason leads the crusade. I love the dynamic of Lucas being kind of outside of the group.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost forget that Mike was there in episode 1 before he goes on vacation. Like, that's how little our core cast spends time together. I forgot Mike was in that first episode because
they've really spread out
to wherever.
It's crazy. Yeah. But I think it's a sign of a good show. They've built a good world. These characters don't always need to be interactive. We didn't see Jonathan and Nancy. We saw, God, they had the worst screen time together. Like, it was like seconds of awkwardness.
How'd you feel about it?
It was bad. It was so bad.
Do you ship Jonathan and Nancy or Steve and Nancy at this point?
So I watched till episode 7, and I know they've been hinting at the Steve and Nancy thing the whole season again, but I think that it's going to be Jonathan and Nancy still in the end. But wow, the way they ended it, it would not look that way at all.
Steve has grown so much.
I love Steve. No,
I
love Steve. I would be
happy.
If
you had to pick a side right now, Team Steve or Team Jonathan?
I mean, I'm Team Steve. I'm Team Steve.
Hell yeah.
But I wasn't until the last 2 episodes. I really thought it would be Jonathan until, man, their screen time together was so bad. And Steve had the whole thing with the 6 kids. And he's like, it's with you, Nancy. It's always been with you. Like, oh, it's good. It's really... But they hinted at it so strong and so hard that it felt like a misdirect to me. And, you know, I did think it was going to be part of Steve's like growth arc. And so, spoilers, we're on it. Steve Harrington's my favorite character because he went from the Jason, like he was the person where I was like, God, Jason, Steve's so annoying, into I was like, oh my God, I love Steve.
I literally don't remember Steve as the douchebag. Like, I can only remember him from Redemption Arc on, which was season 3.
No. It's actually like towards the end of season 1. He does like something really good, and then season 2, he's a good guy in season 2.
I love his dynamic with Dustin. Still holds strong in this season. Those two have probably the best on-screen chemistry of the whole cast.
But ready for this? Dustin and Eddie are coming for that title. They were right up there, and they even will joke about it. Where Dustin's like, "You're just mad that I have a different older male friend." And Steve's like, "That's not even true. Like, stop! Don't say that." Like, they're so good.
My favorite moment between Dustin and Steve this season is when Steve makes a joke about Dustin's teeth or something, and they're both joking around, and he goes, "Whoa, too far," and he goes, "Yep, you're right, I'm sorry," and they like dap hands over it, and it's like, it's all cool. Like, they're tight, sorry. They're fucking tight, and you could see it in that one moment. It's beautiful.
I agree,
but yeah, I'm Team Steve as well. He needs a win at this point, you know. I mean,
he's down bad.
He's down bad.
He's always taking a horrible beating. Did you see the fucking choke marks around his neck in the second half? Like,
I thought he was going to die.
I thought he was going to die
when he gets pulled into the upside down.
Yep.
I thought he was going to die.
I was very, very convinced in that moment he was dying. And how do you feel about this? How many times in the season did they like cut to black to make you think that was the end of the episode? But then more would continue. And you're like, oh, whoa, what? They did it so many times where it literally cuts to black and you're like, oh, what a cliffhanger. And then they come back and you're like, oh, wait, shit, I'm not done.
Yeah. This show, because it's, you know, released in a bingeable format, it's always a little disorienting because I never know where I am in an episode. Because a new one will start, there's like a 3 to 5 minute scene. Mm-hmm. And then the credits will roll. I was like, oh shit, this is the beginning of a new episode. I guess.
All right. We've talked a decent amount. So Jason, we hate him. He gives me Riverdale vibes. I've never watched a single episode of Riverdale, but I have this guy on my TikTok feed that talks about Riverdale exclusively. And I sometimes watch his TikToks. I don't know why. But I've never seen an episode of it in my life. But, you know, I know like a little bit about like Archie and Jughead from their comics. So it's weird though. The show's like very odd, but Jason gives me Riverdale vibes. Like that's where he belongs.
Yeah. This is like if a CW show wasn't a CW show. It was just like, it was just good.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, this is what CW is going for when they make like a bully in a varsity jacket.
So this is totally random, but you know how Discovery is merging with Warner Brothers and like CW as the
It's
studio
all
or
one
whatever
company now. Yeah, go ahead.
is it's up in the air. But apparently there was a headline that came out that in however long it's existed, the CW, it has never once made a profit. It's never once been profitable.
All those years they ran Supernatural, you're telling me they
Yeah.
didn't turn a profit?
Yeah.
Poor Flash fans, man. One beating after another. What?
Yeah. Okay, I'm fact checking myself again just to make sure I don't misrepresent this. Based,
Yeah, they're gonna sue us.
This is from
CW 's gonna
January
sue us.
January 6th, 2022. Based on a new report from the Hollywood Reporter, though, the CW has quote unquote never been profitable since its formation in 2006.
Oh my God, how does that happen? Do you know what happens if
16
I have a
years.
year of no profit? I die. Like, what are you talking about? How is a company able to exist that long not making profit?
Oh, that's rough.
Wow. I'm glad
R.I.P.
you
the
shared that though.
Flash.
That's definitely off topic, but I'm glad you shared that. Okay, let's get into a little bit of the main crew. We've talked a little bit about Dustin. Dustin to me, I know you know a little bit about D&D. He is the bard of the group. He is like, so it really bugged me when Will was like, Mike, you're the heart. And I was like, you know what? I'm sorry. That's
Is
kind
he,
of
though?
Dustin. I was like, that's kind of Dustin. I wanted to be like, maybe you're L's heart, but you ain't this
Yeah.
team's heart, bro.
Especially in this season where he's so far removed from the story and has nothing to do, calling him the heart of this story is a slap in the face to every other character.
Dustin really is the heart of the group. He's really good at like gathering the troops. He literally sang a song to save the world in season 3. Turn around. Like he literally had to sing a song to save the world. This man is a real life bard. And so I love all the real life comparisons they have to D&D. So Dustin, great. He is of the kids, like Steve's my favorite. Dustin's probably my favorite of the kids. And maybe it's the Dustin-Steve relationship. They just are like such bros at this point. And yeah, they're both great. So Dustin's good. We talked a little bit about Lucas. He's with the bullies hunting down Eddie Munson, which did any bit of the street justice like take you out of it?
Yeah, they were.
Okay.
These kids are out buying guns. What the fuck?
Oh my God. When every single person in town was at the gun store, I actually lost my mind. I was like trying to think of like a very wordy tweet to be like, this is America. Like, I was like, this is every day. Everyone in Hawkins is at the gun store right now. Like even freaking Robin's crush is at the gun store. I was like, what is going on?
Do they really get into why Nancy owns a bunch of guns? I guess
Nancy's
she dealt
always
with
slanging guns every season. Since season 1, she had a revolver, and her guns get bigger and bigger. And Nancy's really the only one that's good with a gun, as they've shown.
Made a sawed-off shotgun. How does...
And they're doing it, and they're like, "Is this legal?" And Nancy pauses for a moment. She goes, "I don't think so." I was like, "It's not. It's definitely not." I love Nancy and her gunsling, and she, for me, is one that I like. Sometimes in a season I like, sometimes in a season I don't. She will sometimes be the contributing factor of like, oh my God, just tell your fucking friends and family what's going on and you will know so much. She's no, we can't tell anyone until we have the scoop, or we can't tell anyone until we know everything. Like,
4 seasons in, why does this crew keep anything from each other, right?
Well, I'm going to argue, actually, I think they did better about that this season. They were all together for a big part of the season, except there's the California crew. Joyce could have told her kids, I'm going to go save Hopper, but that's like a tough call. Like, do you actually be like, I'm going to go break into a Russian prison? Or that one I understand a little bit, but they do several times try to call the California crew. And because their house was shot up.
It's the 80s.
Yeah, it's the 80s. The line's busy. They can't get a hold of them, and they're not home anymore. Yeah. And so they're out on the road. So I that was one thing I noted is I was like, this doesn't have the same plot structure of all the other seasons, is all these different groups slowly figuring out what's going on and then coming together at the end, because they literally didn't even come together at the end.
Yeah.
And they were mostly, for the most part, like while there is like 3 distinct groups, everyone that was like in the same vicinity was together, if that makes sense. Like where most of the time it's literally like 4 groups running around Hawkins and you're like,
Yeah.
you just missed each other.
Just get together.
Yeah.
We got to talk about, of the main cast, Maxine. Max.
Yeah, Max.
She
yeah,
is-
Yep.
Well, Steve Harrington is probably my favorite character. She's
Mhm.
all-star this season.
Yeah, she was really fun when she was added in season 2. And in season 3, I think that's where people were like, oh, I love Max this season. I really think she stole the show for most of that group. She outacted everyone she was with.
Yes.
She was amazing. She also just like the story we followed. I actually really feel like we followed most of this group's story a lot of times through her perspective or like plot moving things. And so, hats off to Sadie Sink. What's the award they win? An Emmy? She deserves like all the Emmys. She was really, was
sure.
really good.
2 of the biggest moments in the season are Running Up That Hill, the Kate Bush song.
That's her.
Brings
That's
her
all her.
back down to earth.
So that's of the first batch. That's episode 4. So it's like halfway through the first batch. And I think that was the best episode of that batch, where I really was just like blown away at everything that was going on. And that was like the climax of that whole episode. And it was called Dear Billy 2. And I really like how Billy was such like an asshole, but like,
She has complicated feelings about it.
boom. Oh, you just took the words right out of my mouth. Like, that's so realistic and so palpable. And it stung when she was reading her letter to him, and then when she was talking at the end, how she was like, I did
To
used to wish.
Lucas.
Yeah.
She's impressive all season. And then that final monologue
Mhm.
where she's like, yeah, he was terrible to me.
I used
And
to
sometimes I
pray something
pray.
would happen to him.
Yeah.
Oh.
How brutally honest.
And then after he died, I started to pray that something would happen to me. Max, you're just stabbing my heart. It's so good. And then when she gets like half Vecna'd, she's like, oh, Lucas, I can't see anything. I can't. And you're just like, I cried. I was crying. I was like, whoa, my God. And she's like, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. And I was like, yeah, I know you don't. And then, wow. And so, you know what? We're talking about it right now. Let's talk about the ending. So Max gets mostly Vecna'd. All her limbs break, and they almost gouge out her eyes. But she comes back down, and she does die for like a minute. Now, the way I've interpreted this scene is 11 does like psychic CPR to restart her heart.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
didn't think she has any sort of like, let me instill life into you powers.
Yeah.
I just think it was like psychic CPR.
Electromagnetic fields, whatever, like something.
Sure. I think some people were reading too much into it. They were like, does she have a new power? And I was like, I think she just kind of boom her heart, like she her heart. But man, how brutal was it? So she dies, and then you're like, oh, she's alive again. But you're like, oh, she's
And then
probably
she's
gonna be in
blind.
a coma, and then she's blind, and then
And her shit
Elle-
is fucked. When you watch her
goes-
get mangled, oh
Yeah.
fuck, dude.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
it was hard to watch because like all season, like man, in episode 4 they like teased us with it. You know what I mean? And we were like, for you got away with that one. And then of course it fucking happens at the end of the season. We're like, no. It would have been like if the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones, if like they almost killed them all and they're like leaving and they're like, phew, and then they like fall into a pit and they were like, oh, but we got him anyways.
What were you going to say about Elle at that point?
I don't think Elle got any new powers. She got her old powers back, but her story was good, but it was a lot of to fill in the blanks. I did like the old scenes of her in the nursery with number 1. Those were really good, but a lot of the scenes of her just like in the bunker with Papa and Dr. Owens, they didn't get good until she was trying to escape.
How did you feel about the CGIing of her face onto a younger body double?
It this is how we've classified this as cartoon, and just so everyone, no, I'm just kidding. So, it took me aback for like a second. I was taken aback for like just a second, but I actually thought it was really well done. Like over time, I really stopped noticing it, if that makes sense. And I was just like, man, it really does look like young hers.
Executed well. I don't know that it was necessary though. It
was interesting they went back and forth between it, because most of the time it was just our Millie Bobby Brown in normal age.
Yes, true.
So yeah, I get what you're saying, but I do think just for the sake of dumb audience members, it was important.
Yeah, writing for the lowest common denominator in that instance.
So one thing that's really funny to me, if you remember in season 2, they introduce one of her sisters, 9, and she could like create illusions that people saw. And a lot of the fans were like, this isn't X-Men. We don't like that. And they totally like listened to that and were like, oh, okay, they're all just psychic. Like they all have relax. We won't go down that route. And so there are some fans that were like, I thought they all had like different powers, but like it was like a little bit of a retcon. And so I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, wow, they really listened to the fans.
What were the numbers of all the other kids in season 2? Because
season 2, we only saw 11 and 9 was the other one.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we meet 9 later on, and she's been on her own for a long time. So yeah, I really enjoyed the flashback scenes, not 100% as much the scenes of her in the bunker until, like I said, she was trying to escape the bunker and Papa betrayed her. Oh, they had some really good, what's like the opposite of chemistry, if that makes sense? Tension. Like they had really good on-screen tension where you could feel the history between these two with looks sometimes. And so I really appreciated that. Like that's like, you know, superb acting in my opinion.
Yeah, it was like she had to make a deal with the devil in that instance.
Yeah, she's running up that hill.
Maybe it's because I have seen that memed over and over on TikTok for like a month leading up to actually watching it, but that scene just like didn't hit as hard for me as I would have liked in the moment.
It's because you've seen it before. Yeah,
I was just like overexposed to it at that point.
I was just like, whoa. I was like, this is intense, because I thought Max was going to die there. You know what I mean? I really was like, because we hadn't seen anyone get out of it yet. And so I love that her song comes on. Me and Nikki, we're big reasons that Kate Bush has been making so much money lately. We listen to that song all the goddamn time.
Kudos to Kate Bush. Get that bag.
The longest it's ever taken a song to get to number 1 on the charts. 22 years.
22. Okay. Wow. Good for her.
Yeah.
Well, what about the main confrontation, Vecna and do you want to explore the Vecna 11 connection a little bit?
Oh yeah, I really like this. So he's the orderly, and he like sees something in her, I guess, like takes an interest in her, maybe realizes she's different than the other children, and he decides to like teach her his trick to like doing some real powerful shit. He's like, you need to find a memory that makes you, what is it, mad and sad at the same time? Like, of course, like the two worst emotions you need to find. And he's like, do you have a memory like that? I love this. Oh my God. Okay, wait. Need to take it back. I love the scene where he was like, Papa doesn't always tell the truth. Like he started with something small. He was like, oh, how do you think that blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, I don't know. And he was like, well, Papa doesn't always tell the truth. And then they circle back around, and he was like, remember that day that woman came in and she was screaming Jane? And she was like, yeah. And he was like, that was your mom. And she was like, no, Papa said Mama is dead. And he was like, but Papa doesn't always tell the truth. And it was very much just like whoa, what a goddamn manipulator, bro. Yeah. It was very like, wow, I've seen some shit like that on Survivor and Survivor only.
Yeah. My guard was down with the introduction of him as the orderly.
He came so really late. He came so late in the season that you're just like, what's this dude's deal?
Yeah. And at first, vibes completely off-putting, but then as they like develop that relationship, I'm like, oh, he's just trying to get her out. He duped me. He got me.
Yeah.
With the fucking chip thing. Oh, man.
Oh, that was good. And when you take that out, you still don't even think anything. And he gets up there and he's like, we don't have to run. And he fucking just boom, boom, takes these people out and he snaps necks. That was like one of the things I loved about Obi-Wan Kenobi is we saw Darth Vader snap someone's neck with the Force. And I was like, hey, I think Stranger Things did it first, homie. They did it a couple seasons ago. And so I loved seeing him like totally in control of his powers, if that makes sense. Like he was very not superhero, but he was like very like a superhero in that moment. Like Jean Grey, like can control it, where 11 really has to muster up the strength and courage to do it.
Yeah. When he goes, she comes out of the broom closet and he goes, I told you to stay put. I was like, that's actually so badass. Like,
I know, dude.
like, you didn't have to see all this. I was going to,
we would have been fine.
pretty compelling villain. Yeah.
He was great. He, great actor, also British. They're just built different.
Oh,
yeah. And so, he, like in his apartment, I read, he just like, didn't talk to, and before he started filming like the orderly scenes, he like spent like 3 days in isolation in his apartment, surrounded by sticky notes of manipulative phrases. And I was like, whoa, what a way to prepare for a role, bro. What the hell?
Was that necessary?
We're getting into like Morbius method acting. Like I need a wheelchair to go to the bathroom.
I read this profile on Jeremy Strong, the actor, the Kendall actor in Succession. He's apparently. Do you watch Succession? Yeah, you've watched.
Fuck yeah, I watched Succession.
Yeah. But apparently he's like really deep into method acting, and he like does all this crazy shit. So when he's in a role, he's in a role, and then like the interviewer talked to some other people on the cast about him, and they talked to Brian Cox, I think, and he was like, I don't know, maybe try acting. Or I don't know if I have the actors. I need a fact check.
I get what you're saying. It's just
I don't want to slander Jeremy.
Someone was like, if you need to be this person all the time, like, why don't you, what are you acting then?
Yeah.
Like, I get what you're saying. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like, oh, just try acting sometime. Classic. We're very anti-method acting around these parts. So yeah, I really loved the Vecna and 11 stuff because like I said, it made so much sense. And to find out he was number one, he was the first one, and they're probably taking his blood to, or maybe his sperm to make these other babies. I don't know.
That's fucked up.
I don't know how else do they derive the psychic abilities and create all these new test subjects.
Maybe blood, but I don't know who. I don't like that you just introduced the idea that 11 could be his child.
We don't know. Probably
I'm gonna
not.
go with blood transfusions.
It's probably not semen.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone.
Speaking of things that explanations are iffy, sometimes when 11 goes into whatever the negatives, the dark
void.
space, the void, and the pizza shop, and Mike,
because I piggybacked in a pizza cooler. That was one of the funniest lines of the season.
So the California crew is that all they're standing around her, and they're like, keep going, keep fighting. I was like, how do you know what's going on in there?
They can tell.
Have no idea.
No, she's talking too.
Yeah,
She could be like, I see him.
But the other moment that was like that for
cheesy.
me. Yeah, but first time when they go into the house, the Creole house, and they got the flashlights, and they just like make wild logical jumps.
No,
like,
they've learned these in past seasons. Will with the lights on the wall. Remember, he talked to Winona Ryder through the Christmas lights in the wall. They learned this shit, Evan. You're just not paying attention because it's been 6 years almost.
There are some logical leaps that they make that I'm like, I don't know. You're just oh, he's in this light bulb now.
No, they know where he is. They know it. Okay. I know we're missing characters. I really like that Erica kind of stuck around.
I wanted to see more of her.
I agree. That's kind of how I felt is the scenes we got of her. I was like, we need more. Man, when the fucking basketball player was like, I'll break your arm, and he like tackled her, I was like uncomfortable. I was like, there's always moments that will, in a show, I'll be like, if I was an actor, would I want to do that? I'd be like, I don't know. I want to do that as an actor. Like,
they really tee her up in episode 1 though, when she fills in for Lucas, and then she's a little bit sidelined until the end.
She got sidelined for a bit, and she comes back towards the end.
But then she's sidelined at the end. Like she has that moment where she kicks the other basketball player in the nuts, gets into the Creel
I don't know. I
house.
think she's at one of the most dramatic scenes in the Lucas and Max stuff. She's there for it. And Lucas goes, Erica, get help. Or I don't know what he said. It was just so heartbreaking. It was really good. And I'm glad that like Erica was there with him, if that makes sense. And then they're both always at the hospital together. They've like really grown tight, whereas they've never been tight throughout the series.
Lucas was one of the cast members. I was like, not seeing it until the final episode. Man, he brings it home. He brought it really hard, but like you said, he was not sidelined, but he was just kind of very there. Oh, when they're like movie Friday, so goddamn cute. It's cute,
so fucking cute. But I should have, like I said, I was looking for hints. That should have been my first hint that they ain't seeing a movie on Friday. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh my god, she's not seeing a movie for a long time.
Ooh, too soon, Evan. Too
soon.
Okay, let's talk about season 3. One of my favorite additions, Robin. You know, she doesn't have much of a story this season. She really gets to know Nancy this season. What did you think about like Robin and Nancy?
Why was Nancy kind of being a bitch to her? Episode 1.
I think she's a bit jealous. Like, it's Steve's. She doesn't. Robin doesn't know, or excuse me, Nancy doesn't know that Robin likes girls. That she's a lesbian, and she probably assumes like that her and Steve are like, you know, doing
hooking up. Okay,
yeah,
I get that. I'm glad they turn it around.
Yeah,
I love her scene in the prison, crazy ward.
Yeah,
What
she's
is it?
great.
A psychiatric hospital,
psychiatric ward. Shutter Island. Did you get Shutter Island vibes there? And I was like,
bit.
whoa.
She gets the emotional arc that I wish I had, that Steve got. She has that moment with her crush at the end. Steve is looking at him, smiling like a
That's
like
part
a
of it. Is
mother.
like he's the wingman. He's the mom. He's the wingman. He is like so there. Damn, dude, this guy is
deserves
not
a
seeing the
win.
end of the series. He's got. Dude, he's just too good. Like he's just too good. Like, you know what I mean? He's everyone's favorite, I feel like. Okay, we were talking about Robin and her crush. Oh, I can't believe we're saving this till the end. This is a big topic. Let's talk about the Will of it all. I really believe that season 1 through 3, the writers never once thought about Will's sexuality. But I think the overwhelming fan response of people assuming and thinking it, that they also this season did not come out and say it, which I really thought they were going to, but they very much hinted that Will is probably gay in this season. Do you think that was planned? What do you think about this? Do you think they should have just come out and said it at this point? Or do you think it was obvious, not obvious? What did you think about it? Because to me, it felt like very obvious at this point, which I'm good with. I liked it. I think it fits his story too.
I think it fits his story, but I feel like most of the California crew was a little sidelined. Like they gave him like that's his thing the whole season, but he doesn't get much else to do the whole season. I wish he were a little more in the mix, and I think it would have been more profound. He has that moment with Jonathan.
I was just about to say they have a great moment at the end. It's really good, but now that you say it, it was almost like
didn't
why?
lead anywhere.
What was it for?
What prompted that conversation? Like,
well, I think it was him seeing the reaction of him talking to Mike.
Okay. That's fair.
That was what I thought. But like I said, they never fully ended up addressing it. I guess that is part of the 80s too. But like, you think that's where part of his story is heading, correct?
Yeah. It just felt like they're like, oh, this is Will's development for the season. This is his storyline. And then he doesn't get anything else to do in the season.
Yeah.
So
And there wasn't a huge payoff for it either.
The
only evidence I've seen, once again on TikTok, it's great. I love TikTok. Someone was like, oh, like when he first goes away, like Joyce is like hinting to Hopper, well, you know, he's different. He's not like other boys. And they think maybe that's like a hint that she like knows, like, oh, he might be getting bullied for being different, if that makes sense. And I was like, I can see that, but he's also just like, you know, they're all nerds. They're all kind of different. So I don't know. I genuinely feel, like I said, that it was such a weird line to toe. Like they're still keeping it a mystery, but like it was very obvious at this point. You know what I mean?
Hmm. I don't know how I feel about the Will character because obviously he's part of the main cast, but
He was
I've
gone in
never
season 1.
felt super attached to him.
I
He's
think
more of
part of
like
it
a
is
plot device in the
uh,
early seasons, and so I
he's
don't feel super attached to him.
he's the Doug in The Hangover. How he's not in the movie. He's part of the
Okay.
group, obviously, but he's not in the movie at all. So when you think of the Hangover crew, you don't actually think of Doug because
Mhm.
you think of just the 3 of them. But it was Doug's bachelor party that brought him there.
Yeah.
It was Will's disappearance that started this all. But
Yeah.
like you said, he sometimes almost feels like outside the group because of that.
He hasn't had him and Mike this season didn't have a moment or not even together.
They had one moment towards the end where he shows him the painting.
Okay.
And he's
Okay.
talking
Let
to
me
him about
rephrase.
11.
Like their action hero moment. Nancy has one.
Yeah.
Rob and Eddie, like all of them throughout the seasons. People, I don't think Will
Dustin,
has ever
Eddie.
had that.
No.
I just want to see him in the mix. Him and Mike are tragically sidelined.
I can see
I
that.
feel like Will acts a little better than Mike does in this season.
Oh.
But yeah,
You really
I just
are
want to see
hating
more
on
from him.
Finn Wolfhard. He thinks
I'm ready. You know what? I already told you this, but I think he'd be great for to replace Ezra Miller as the
want him to play the
Flash.
Flash.
Just 'cause he kinda-
We'd
he's
save
got
it for the
dark
news.
enough hair.
Wait, we got to save that for the news part. Okay. So wow, I think we have covered a lot of the characters here. I mean, is there anyone? I'm once again, I'm sure we're missing people.
That's fine.
The season as a whole, I really liked. Can you think of any moment that I'm sure we're missing great moments as well. It's a jammed packed season full of great things. When Hopper's fighting the Demogorgon with a sword, I literally was like, this
Yeah.
is peak fucking drama right now. Where did he get a sword? I don't care.
Where did
I
that
love
sword
it.
come from?
I don't even care, bro. I loved it. Yeah. Any other moments, characters, things you want to bring up that were great or that you want to critique as well?
No, I've been nitpicking things here and there, but overall, there's a lot to love in this show. There are, some, in my opinion, minor scuff ups with the writing here or there, weaker points. But this is a great watch. For any of its faults, this show has so much heart. The world is so fleshed out and developed. The characters, the relationships. We've been watching these characters since 2016, so 6-ish years now. And not that it's a comfort watch because it's like a horror thriller, gory thing, but it's like a staple
Yeah.
of television these days, and it is well executed by all means.
Did you see
This
it was like
is
7 billion minutes watched in the first week?
that's insane. This is probably better than all of the Disney Plus series, maybe except for Loki. I would
Evan
say
just called out a whole catalog. He goes,
Oh.
your.
for sure.
No, I agree though.
When
I
those
totally
when
agree.
those have weak writing, they have weak writing. Like this is like there's you can nitpick stuff here and there, but
I totally
this
agree.
show has heart, and I'm glad I watched it. There are some interesting things. There's one maybe tease that I saw on TikTok, or one thing directionally, a clue that's outside of the show that might
is it?
give an indication of where it's
Yeah.
headed.
Tell us.
And granted, I just saw this on a TikTok, but apparently, the villain names are all from
D&D.
D&D lore, and in D&D lore, Vecna's right hand man is a vampire general apparently, and so they think because Eddie
Oh, bats.
bats has the bat tattoo, mentions Ozzy Osbourne biting the head of the bat. We think
dies
dead at the end of the
via
series.
bats.
He might end up being Vecna's right hand man, but this is just a theory at this point. But it's
Season
convincing
5
and it's a good one.
Season 5 is going to have a time skip, which thank God they're going to be older. Like they can address the age of the room.
They're gonna be 35 and married, but
I don't think it'll be that old.
Yeah.
My guess is ready for this. I feel like this is spot on. They are about to be graduating or going to college, the kids.
Oh yeah. Oh, because true. I can see it.
Yeah, and I think it's just like a big time in someone's life, and so some time will have passed. I don't know, because you know what? Hawkins is like fucking open right now. Like, I don't know how you do a time skip where the ground
Mhm.
is literally open right now. Like, are they gonna adopt life with fucking a giant X in their town? I don't know. Okay, but a lot of people leaving Hawkins at the end there. So I think kind of like what you were saying, that kind of wrap up my thoughts of it all. This show is like extremely well done. No, it's not perfect all the time. Like the scene at Susie's house, really confusing, probably not needed. Like I get where it was going. They wanted to work her into the story again, which was nice.
Yeah.
But like
Totally
Argyle
forgot about
flirting
that.
with her older sister, I was just like, what is going on at the moment? It wasn't a Chrissy and Eddie where I
Yeah.
was like, I'm loving this.
Was
I
she
was like, what?
supposed to look like the Breakfast
I
Club
think
girl?
so. I think she was supposed to. I think it's an 80. It's all 80s references. Because then
Yeah.
also Chrissy's or not Robin's crush looks like Molly Ringwald, like from the
Yeah.
Breakfast
Oh my
Club. It's
God,
like
spot
spot
on.
on.
Yeah, yeah.
So and then maybe Jason's supposed to be like the athlete of the wow, is there all of them? And is Eddie
Emilio
the burnout?
Estevez.
Oh my God, wait, and is Eddie the burnout? And Eddie's like Judd
A little bit.
maybe we
We
were
might be
stoked.
on
Is there a nerd?
Yeah.
Oh my God, there is a nerd. Robin has a nerd, a sidekick at the. Wow, I think we just stumbled upon something here.
Wow.
Like, I think there are 5 different Breakfast Club lookalikes in the season.
Yeah. I think you're onto something.
That's
That's good.
Okay. I think, like you were saying, this show, there's a lot of time, effort, and dedication into it. Like we were roasting the Disney Plus shows against this. Netflix lets them fledge out as much time and as money as they need at this point. They're like, we know you're going to deliver. Whereas like, you know, the Disney Plus people seem to be on a very tight schedule and like a strict regimen of like what they must and must not include. So I think that's probably a big difference there. But like you said, I think this is a staple of Netflix, and I think it's a staple of television as a whole. When people are going to look back at history and think of like streaming TV shows, Stranger Things will be the show they think of that like dominated the charts,
Yeah.
if you will. So I love living in the era. I've been a fan since it came out. If you couldn't tell by this, I'm obsessed. It is like a comfort show at me at this point. Like I feel like I really know these characters, and I love Hawkins for all its curses and faults that it has. It feels like a Midwest town to me too. It feels just so like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like you get what I'm saying, like those desolate parts of Novi when you're driving. I was just like, I've been on a long road just surrounded by trees like this. So like this season I think was their best season too, which is just like not always easy to do. Like a lot of times like shows peak early on and then drift off. And I think this show is only going to deliver for season 5. And I'm like hella excited for it.
I'm with you on it. The season 4 has probably been the best so far, just because we have had so much time to marinate in these relationships.
Yeah.
That they've developed.
really let
and
it
they
grow.
they really pay off this season. I don't
You
know,
want to
should
get into
we-
some news?
Yeah. Let's read some news. I think this one's fitting to start us off. It's not animation news or anything, but
What?
has to do with Stranger Things. Duffer
Oh.
Brothers announced Upside Down Pictures production company, and they're going to be developing a spinoff for Netflix. So more to come. This is similar to like the Avatar Studios.
Well, they have a
spin-off
live
of-
action remake of Death Note coming.
I never watched the first
It's terrible.
Netflix live
It's
action.
so bad. It's so bad. And I believe the Duffer Brothers are going to get the tone of this just right, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm very excited for that.
It's cool to see showrunners pull off a series successfully. They're like, what if the Game of Thrones showrunners hadn't fumbled at the end? And so far, they're not fumbling at all.
Well,
Duffer
you know
Brothers
what?
are hitting it out of the park.
We've talked actually a decent amount of Game of Thrones here. Here's my take. I was so into Game of Thrones as it was airing. I literally was like, this could be the best TV show of all time. And the last season ruined it. And it is literally because these motherfuckers couldn't write something that wasn't in a book. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it all boiled down to, is once they were off book, they didn't know what to fucking do, which is
Yeah.
just such a shame. They should have known their characters so much better than they did at that point, and they did not.
hmm
Shame on you.
Shame on them. What else you got?
Okay. We'll start with the more fun one. let's talk about the Minions. I don't even know where to begin with this. All right, a new movie this holiday weekend has dropped. It's called Minions: The Rise of Gru. I think in the mythos of it all, it's like Despicable Me 5 or 6. I don't know how this works.
But it's a prequel, I believe.
It's a prequel to it all, though. But it's not the first Minions movie either. Like, they started off in Despicable Me, and then they got their own movies. And it is, how do I say this? Doing amazing at the box office. It is bringing in unreal numbers. It's record high for 4th of July weekend. And it is all due to essentially a meme, which the internet's crazy. So I was talking to my brother Brendan, and he said it all started when a high-end production company was hired called Lyrical Lemonade. And they made a trailer/music video to a song by Yeet, the rapper. And maybe we can put the link in the description, but you will be mind blown that this is a real trailer that they paid for, because the song is just like your typical rap song, like not aimed towards kids. But apparently this is what started the whole trend of the gentle minions. I hate that I just had to say that. So large crowds of male audience goers are dressing up in suits and attending the movie together and just like going nuts for it as if it's the best thing they've ever seen. To its credit, it's got a 72% on Rotten Tomatoes. It set the box office record for a July 4th opening weekend. So yeah, I mean, I've only probably seen the first. What was the first Minions movie? It wasn't called Minions. Despicable Me. Okay. I fucking hate Minions. I can't stand these little fucks.
Incredibly annoying.
They're so annoying. Oh my God. I can picture their voice so clearly in my head, and I hate it. I absolutely goddamn hate it. Banana. Like, oh my God.
It's like if the Chipmunks spoke nonsense.
Gibberish. Yeah, you're so right. That's exactly what it is. And so, while I hate the Minions, I respect the meme of it all. So ready for this. If we recall, we talked a little bit about this. Morbius was memed into being re-released. And so I saw a tweet that quote tweeted like the Gentle Minions meme that said, Morbius, please release it a third time and I swear we'll do this. Like the fact that Sony Studios got goaded into re-releasing Morbius is still the funniest thing in the world to me, when Minions like accidentally stumbled into meme like money success.
Yeah. And it's when we say groups of young men dressed in suits, it's not handfuls, it's crowds.
Yes.
There 10, you 20, can see plenty of headlines of movie theaters having to call police to vacate these theaters.
Saying any groups observing the Gentle Minions trend. That's what they always call it. Isn't that so funny? They call it a trend. And I think they do that to let them know, like, hey, this is a fad. Like, it's not going to last forever, buddy. Like,
yeah. But what a wholesome, on the whole,
wild
way to cause havoc.
Yeah, but we're getting 6 more Minion movies now. You know how much money we just gave them? God damn it. Okay, I have the last bit of news, I think, unless you have something else.
I don't. I was looking for a stat, but you go ahead.
All right, last bit of news is confusing, awful, but just like wildly interesting to follow. We're going to talk about Ezra Miller on the Lam. I can't even say it. I'm sorry. So I don't mean to laugh, because what is going on with them seems very serious, and like that there are a lot of victims involved. The only reason I am laughing is because I swear to God, it is every day we see a new headline saying Ezra Miller has punched someone. Ezra Miller was grooming a minor. Ezra Miller on the run from police, taunting the police on Instagram stories. And the only thing I can think is, like, how is Ezra Miller not behind bars? So the reason this relates to anything is I have been patiently waiting since like 2017 for a Flash movie. And the Flash movie is done. They are like releasing it. And now Ezra Miller is literally on a crime
putting it
spree.
in jeopardy.
I'm so I don't think I will ever see a Flash movie. At this point,
At this point, Warner Brothers has stated they will release the movie while probably condemning what Ezra Miller is out there doing.
I'm baffled by the whole thing. Like I said, I don't mean to laugh, but just like the dramatic irony, like, and their Instagram stories that Ezra was posting were like, "You'll never catch me, bitch. I'm in the multiverse." Like literally taunting the police as if they are the Flash. I was like, I cannot believe what I am seeing right now. Like I said, the only reason I bring this up also is because I've been waiting so long for a Flash movie. The Flash is like my childhood favorite superhero. As I've grown up, Batman's taken the mantle, but as a child, the Flash was my favorite. And so it is being released at this moment, but I'll be honest, I don't think I will end up ever seeing it.
It's pretty bad stuff that they're doing.
Worse. It's only gotten worse and worse and worse. And I totally forgot. They got into an argument with freaking Elvis, Austin Butler, at a bar. And Ezra Miller got kicked out after causing a confrontation with the new Elvis dude. I was like, what? The Flash and Elvis are fighting in a pub? And this is the other thing is I swear to God, Ezra Miller was destroying the island of Hawaii. That was where their crime spree started. Terrorizing. Now they are international. Now they are just like everywhere.
Evading the law.
I swear to God, I will. Every time I see a new news story, they are in a different country. And I'm just completely shook. And I saw them on a TikTok. Like a random person was TikToking like, look who I found. And they were talking about like knocking them out. They were like, do you want me to? And I was like, what is... Very wild stuff. Maybe we shouldn't have ended on the bad story.
Let me. The stat I wanted to look up is the majority. Back to the Minions. Yeah. The majority of the audience, 34% watching Minions: The Rise of Gru this weekend, was between the ages 13 and 17. So they're the new driving force of the market.
That's insane. Okay. Yeah, but back to the Minions of it all. So let's end on that more so.
There's another one you had brought up. You had texted me about was James Cameron. Apparently already wants out of the Avatar franchise.
Dude, what is going? I couldn't believe this. I sent you an article. James Cameron announces 15 years after his first movie, I'm creating a 5-movie series. There's going to be Avatar 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now 2 is done, and they are filming 3 currently. And there's a news headline that just says, I'm not going to do 4 and 5. How are you going to announce 4 and 5 and then just be like, I'm not doing them, though? What is that? I've never heard of such a thing.
It's a real, like, if you build it, they will come. But it's like, it's so far out and it's not even built yet.
Because this is the worst part is in the interview, it says, I don't think I'll end up doing Avatar 4 and 5, so I can pursue other projects. Like, he doesn't really even explain why he wouldn't want to do it, just to explore other projects, meaning I'm done with this franchise. I'm so over Avatar, and we haven't even gotten the sequel yet. I'm so...
Yeah. So those are 2 blockbuster movies we probably won't be watching or covering on the pod. Yeah. The Flash and Avatar Way of Water.
Oh my God. Well, this was fun. I'm glad we did this. 2 dudes watch whatever they want. Let me wrap us off. I got to sign off here. Do you have any closing thoughts before I do this?
No, I don't. I got nothing.
Okay, this was a good podcast. I had a good time. All right. If you want more 2 Dudes, though, please check us out on all platforms. You can check out any of our other episodes on Apple, Spotify. We're also on YouTube now as well. Please follow us at 2 Dudes Watch Cartoons on Instagram and TikTok. We're doing well on TikTok, I ain't gonna lie. And you can follow us at 2 Dudes Watch on Twitter. And then, we have not asked for this. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. I think it helps us a lot. And
please write a review too, so people just like a glowing one at that.
We would love that. If it's going to be 4 stars, don't bother. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, but we would appreciate that. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
Do better. 2 dudes watch whatever they want. 2 dudes watch whatever they want. 2 dudes watch whatever they want. 2 dudes watch whatever they want.
Oh, that's nice.